Thanks for joining us, folks. And remember, click the subscribe button. I put that little button right on the screen now so you can hook us up. We need your help. Get us to 500 subscriptions. That would be awesome. Today, I'm always blessed to have my left-hand man, the king of
Duke
brisket,
of dirty brisket,
Charlie Baldwin. And also joining us today is Tommy. Tommy the Butcher's here, and he's been nailing it on the barbecue scene. He's transitioning now that fall's coming in, and we are in October. Oh, my God, we're in October. Tommy's heading out for a bourbon tour.
Wow.
And that's perfect timing right after his last, hopefully you guys saw his last article on Barbecue News. He had the Bourbon and Barbecue collation and the new American saying of what we should be doing with our spare time, which is constantly drinking bourbon and eating barbecue. Hey, Tommy, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, you getting set for that bourbon tour? Or what?
Yeah, we're heading out early Thursday morning.
Yeah.
Me and my 4 brothers, all 5 of us.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Is there a special like family life insurance you got to get for that?
For your liver?
This is the first time we've ever done anything like this, and the 5 of us are collectively in between the ages of 60 and 66. So
Nice.
we're looking forward to a good time, and we are actually hitting 11 distilleries in 3 days. Wow. So it's quite like our barbecue safaris.
You're not going to make it past the first day. 11 distilleries.
Yeah, so
we'll see how we do.
So it's a bourbon safari, more or less.
Wow.
No better match made in heaven than bourbon and barbecue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're going to mix some barbecue in when you have time for that?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I've already been looking at places we can go. And although it's not a barbecue mecca, Kentucky, they do have some places that look pretty promising. So we'll add them to our itinerary.
Barbecue is everywhere. You'll find it out.
Yeah, whether it's good or bad, it's going to be there. And
So
as long as we have the bourbon, it'll definitely be bourbon.
So give us a name drop. We'll give it. You have one restaurant you're looking forward to?
As a matter of fact, there is one, and it escapes my memory at this time.
They come around. That's
it'll come around. As everything nowadays with me.
Yeah, I'm working on. I'm about on a 26-hour cycle.
Most of them
gets back around.
don't make it back. They go and they just never make it back.
Just stay out there, don't they? Yeah, that sucks.
What the heck is the name of that place? Son of a gun.
Yeah. So what do you know? I'm struggling with this because I'm a new bourbon drinker. I love it. When we were out on a safari in South Carolina, you introduced me to some things, and you taught me how to look for the content of alcohol in the liquor, and that kind of gives you an idea of how long it's aged and how well it's made. Not just that it gets you whacked faster.
Right.
Which is usually our primary requirement for anything we drink.
Strong and fast, right? And that's all we need. But no, I'm trying to learn it, and I'm trying to understand it. And one of the things you taught me, which helps me a lot, is I did go and pick my 3 weekly bourbons, right? I have my daily, I have my weekly, and then I have my once in a while, right?
Right.
And it seems like if you do that, you get an understanding of what you like and what you don't faster. You can take better notes, I guess you can say.
Yeah, well, you definitely have your what we call a daily drinker, which is obviously a budget bourbon.
Yeah, so what's that around, $35?
Yeah, I would say 30, anywhere from $25 to $45 a bottle, and there's some good ones out there. So there's some quality, quote unquote, everyday drinkers.
What's one off the top of your head?
The one right off the top of my head, my number one go-to daily drinker is Wild Turkey 101.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We all grew up with Wild Turkey.
We sure did.
Yeah, we all have a lot of memories and a lot of experiences.
A lack of memories
But
from Wild Turkey.
Wild Turkey 101 has a great flavor profile. At that proof point of 101, it just hits the right spot. Oh. It's not too underproofed or too overproofed. Doesn't drink hot, but it has a very diverse flavor profile. And at that price point, you could be pounding those down on a nightly basis.
Well, you see why we've brought Tommy here to talk about bourbon, because, He's lost me. This guy's a little bit of a savant. Like Vin was saying, we were down at one of our barbecue safaris. What's the name of that bar? Was it the Bourbon Bar?
It was Bourbons.
Bourbons,
Of
yeah.
all places.
Right.
And Tommy looked at the menu, and I looked at it looked to me. I was like I was reading Mandarin.
It was like a slot machine. His
Yeah.
eyes were rolling backwards in
And
his
he's
head.
just like picking things out. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, that's a good one. Oh, I can't believe they have this.
Yeah, they have that.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive, the expertise with.
Yeah.
Now the service wasn't the
No.
They did bring you a tequila when you asked for a bourbon one time, but other than that, it was a very nice, nice establishment.
It all worked out well.
No,
It
that,
did.
That was the waitress, right? That couldn't have
Yeah,
been
she was a
the bar.
greenhorn. She was very, very, very raw. She just
Yes.
started. I think that might have been her first night.
Yes.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
struggling, and she showed it. But
But
it all
it's all
worked out
right,
well
whatever
because
your
I
name
ended
was.
up with my Stag Junior, and I enjoyed it immensely, and
Sure did. It was a
it
good
made my
night.
night.
Good night.
Yeah, no, that was fun. And so, but here's my thing, right? So I can drink bourbon. I like it. I enjoy it. It doesn't. You call it peat. I call it smoky. It doesn't matter if it's heavy smoke. You know, I can get through it. I enjoy it. But like I yet have been able to apply it with some kind of a food item, like with barbecue, right? Like I don't know if I can enjoy a piece of anything and then drink a taste of bourbon and say, wow, that's amazing. Like I can do that with beer. Sometimes I can do that with vodka, but I haven't gotten that skill yet with bourbon. So I got to try that. But absolutely, the pairing is there. It makes sense.
Yeah, there are definitely some parallel flavor profiles, no doubt, when it comes to barbecue and bourbon. Because of the process that bourbon goes through, it will deliver flavor profiles from sweet to smoky.
Right.
So there you go. I mean, it's no doubt. It's obviously
Just like
works
just like
well with barbecue. Once again, their flavor profiles are mirrored. They're parallel, and some of the bourbons can produce flavor notes that are sweet, such as caramel, brown sugar, vanilla, and also some can produce flavor notes that are fruity, apple, cherry.
Yes.
Now, as I'm giving you these flavor notes, anybody that's into barbecue can connect the dots when you're talking brown sugar, sweet flavor notes, fruity flavor notes such as apple or cherry. Apple and cherry are some of the most often used barbecue woods.
Oh yeah.
They produce a fruity, sweet flavor profile in their barbecue meats and how they transfer over to whatever meat you are smoking. So there's definitely a lot to pair and a lot to match up. But like you were saying, Vinny, it's other than food, I mean, food and wine and cheese, bourbon is something that, you know, most people will struggle a little bit in as far as matching it up with foods and finding that balance, finding that complement, because it's a spirit. It's not wine. It's not a beer. It is proofy, and sometimes I can understand and see where some can have the struggle with that. But
Maybe a little intimidated as what they want to
definitely a little intimidated.
pick out. Listen. Bourbon to me is I'm not a big drinker of alcohol while I'm eating. Wine is the exception, but bourbon is usually something I'm drinking prior to eating my meal, or maybe even after.
Yeah.
Settle my stomach a little bit.
That's the word I was going to say. I didn't want to make it sound like medicinal, but that's not a word.
Medicinal, yeah.
Medicinal. But yeah, for sure. After you eat and you have that heavy salt in your mouth, maybe, and you're sitting there and you got a little bit of bloat going on, maybe a little agita coming on, you just take a little brandy and it just cuts through that.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely.
Burns through that, and it kind of just changes your palate a little bit, and now it almost satisfies you, brings the whole thing full circle.
It's not like you're going to take a bite of food and wash it down with like a swig of bourbon.
Why not?
It's just how it complements, and you can actually savor and enjoy the pairing when you've experienced that in a bourbon that will balance and or complement barbecue flavors.
Sure.
Outstanding.
Makes perfect sense. Now, Now we got to after you wrote your article, you got a call out from one of our, definitely a friend, hopefully a business partner in the future. But you want to talk about that a little bit? You want me to introduce it? Do you remember what that was?
No,
Big Dog. So
I'll
Big
let you
yeah.
do the.
So Dan, the owner of Big Dog Sauce, who I only know him from social media, reached out to you and complimented you on your article, and he thinks just like you think, because he said he has 2.5 years ago they created a dark cherry bourbon barbecue sauce. It's sold out currently, so they're waiting for the next batch to come through. But they encouraged you to make sure you get a bottle and try it because it's supposed to be wonderful.
Sounds like something I could take bathing.
Yeah. Well, it talks
Bourbon
exactly.
cherry barbecue sauce.
Yep. Dark cherry bourbon barbecue sauce. It's an incredible pairing with dark cherries and bourbon. So, he's proud of it and he wants you to try it and let him know what you like about it. So that sounded fantastic, and he's so if you again, I only met Dan through social media, but he's a big supporter of barbecue in New England. He's obviously from New England. He goes out to the competitions. He hands out free sample sauces to other competitors and such. So nice guy. I think we'll hearing more from him again. He just had I call it a talkie. He had a social media, but it was his own. But he was kind of showing you around. They did something with cranberries. They were harvesting cranberries this time of year. So he had 350 pounds of cranberry, and they were batching it and getting it ready to make one of his sauces. He didn't elaborate exactly what the sauce was, but he was challenging folks to make sure they looked for it and got some of it. So the next cranberry sauce you see from Big Dog Sauces will be fresh, made by Dan up in New Hampshire. So make sure everybody gets a.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. I'm doing right after the show is I'm going to get on their site and order myself some of this.
Yeah.
This wonderful barbecue sauce. Maybe we can test it out on a future show and
have
a little tasting. I'll pick some of that up for us.
Yeah, well, as we talked about last week, I'm bummed out about how my ribs have been coming out. So I got to do some more patient. I'm gonna say sober cook with my ribs, and when I do that, I enjoy cooking, but I got to be a little.
Listen,
what's happening with the
those
ribs?
things go together.
I'm burning them.
You're burning.
I'm burning them. I'm letting them ride too long. And I'm not doing the 3-2-1. And
your ribs are so good.
So I got to pay attention to them. Yeah, I always think ribs are easy, and because of the way I started cook. Yeah, but I just always, from back in the day, the way I made them, they were always like you said, they're quick. So the last item to go on when I was doing 3 other things, and I just never fully paid attention to them like a competitor would. So I got to just change that up. I got to just do ribs and that's it. And
if you're sticking to that 3-2-1 strictly, then that could be the issue.
Why?
I'm not a big fan of the timing method.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with look, feel, color, and all your champion pitmasters, all your big restaurateurs who do barbecue, basically judge their products by look, color, feel.
Yeah.
Of course, it takes a lot of time and experience to develop that.
Yeah.
But
no, absolutely. You need the bark, right? That's number one. And number 2 is the bend, right?
Exactly.
If you pick that rib up in the middle and it kind of warps over.
You'll see the pullback from the bones as well. Those are all indicators that you're ready for the next step.
A great tip that I didn't know until I read his article, Harry Sue. He'll take the rib, and on the bone side of the membrane, he'll just either run a knife or even sometimes his fingernail or a spoon along the bone, and that just breaks the cartilage that wraps around the bone enough so that meat now shrinks up on the bone. So when you see that shrink on the bone, you also know you're going towards more cooked than not. See, I wouldn't do that. So as it as it shrinks, it doesn't shrink down on the bone, it shrinks over the bone. It's hard to get an understanding of what's going on with the meat, but that's what you look for.
A visual timer.
But where I screw up is like, that's the 3, and like Tommy says, it's not always ours. It's look and feel, and then you go and you wrap it and you put some kind of butter and brown sugar
Brown
in there,
sugar.
and then you braise it for 2 hours inside of aluminum foil. I don't do that. So I leave it on.
Oh, you don't? You're not doing a wrap?
No, sometimes I don't do it. So
Why is that?
because I just feel like I never did it when I started. And
Try
my
it.
ribs were great. I know. I know.
I usually do the wrap. And if I do St. Louis ribs,
Yeah.
they're usually with about a 250, 275 temp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at maybe 1 3/4, 3/4. Yeah.
Of an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Usually under 5 hours, they're
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
With maybe about a 1 hour wrap
Mm-hmm.
tops. If you
So we'll get some of that bourbon dark cherry
oh, definitely.
sauce, and we'll do it up with that, and that'll be great. What do you use? You don't ever put beef tallow right down. It's more butter
No, in pork and ribs?
in the ribs. Yeah.
No, you can actually get lard.
Yeah.
Lard works well. Use it just as you would beef tallow.
Yeah.
But personally, I use butter.
Yep.
Butter. I do the same thing with brown sugar.
Yep.
Maybe a little bit of apple cider
Or even-
vinegar or apple juice, that type of
How about
thing.
some beer? You throw some beer in there, maybe.
I haven't done anything with beer yet, but that would be a great idea.
Yep.
I mean, there are a lot of beers with great fruity flavor profiles that would match up well with,
Yeah, this one's
with pork.
pretty good. This is Taproot from Newport Vineyards. It's awesome. I don't know what it is. It's a Pils. What's a Pils?
Pilsner.
Pilsner. What is that?
That's a lighter type of crispier
Uh-huh.
American ale type of.
I have to give it a shot. So much
Yeah,
about
that's a
whiskey.
deal breaker. What's a pilsner? I don't think I can drink that. Okay.
So what is all right? Well, so while we're getting on that, right? How about whiskey compared to bourbon? What's the difference? I mean, I know a little bit. We can talk about it. I know Tommy knows, but I know our listeners don't know.
Yeah, for it to be bourbon, it has to have a minimum corn mash bill of 51%. And the mash bill means most bourbons, even whiskeys, are.
Well, stop. Back up. What the hell's mash?
A mash bill is what the grains that are used that are fermented to produce the
Right.
the spirit, and usually they use wheat, corn, rye, barley, even rice at times. But for it to be a bourbon, it has to be a minimum 51% corn.
So they take all that
anything else is
wonderful-
just a whiskey.
So they take all that wonderful grains, they put it with some water, and they boil it, right? Don't they get it
Basically,
hot?
there's a
Yeah.
fermentation process.
Yeah.
that
Then
goes-
after it cools, they have what they're fermenting in that mash, and that's when it really becomes the mash bill.
yeah, the mash bill is the percentage of the different grains that go into
Oh,
whatever.
I see.
Yeah.
That's the
So as
payment.
long as it's under 51%, it's a whiskey. That's that.
If it's under 51, it's a whiskey.
and that's your defining line right there. No matter what this
Absolutely.
stuff is.
Bourbon has to be 51% or more.
Okay.
And it's going to
And-
have other grains involved, but 51% corn.
Got it.
and made in America, bourbon.
It's exclusive to the U.S. of A.
Yeah, there's no other bourbon
Nope,
made outside
nope,
of the
nope,
country.
absolutely.
There's plenty of other whiskey, like Scotch, like Irish whiskey, like
Great Japanese whiskeys,
Yep,
Canadian whiskeys.
yep.
There are a lot, but bourbon is U.S.
Centauri.
Centauri.
Centauri time. That's a Japanese whiskey. Centauri time.
So then they're fermenting this. So then they distill that mash, right? They take that mash, they
Right.
boil it down, and they're distilling that liquid, and that liquid is becoming the blessed,
The juice.
the godly whiskey.
And then
my
it goes
indoor
into
bourbon.
oak barrels, new aged oak barrels to age that goes into the aging process, and that could take anywhere from 2 years up until 20 years.
So that's what, as I say, if I'm at my local liquor store and I'm looking I'm looking at these bottles, like what's the different? I understand that there's certain different barrel times, aging times,
Right.
but what do you look for in the age? Is it different? Is it the same thing you look for every time? One that you pick out
In an age or in
in an
the
age
actual profile?
in an age?
I wouldn't know the answer to that.
It depends, but anything that's aged too long can develop a heavy oakier flavor. Of course, it's sitting in that oak barrel for a number of years, and it could produce some oak notes that might be a little bit too overpowering. So, personally, I like something in about the 8-year age statement. And anything too young, like 2 years, it just doesn't develop, and it's going to give you a lot of negative flavor notes, in my opinion. Things that are a little kind of tannic and just not developed, and you could easily tell right off the bat the flavors they just didn't quite come together.
Yeah.
Not enough time.
Gotcha.
So that we were talking before the show, and we asked about why is brandy different from bourbon and whiskey, and the answer is because brandy is made with fruit. But it gets confusing because you can have an apple flavored bourbon or whiskey, or a cherry flavored, like a vanilla flavor. They have the flavorings, but they're not typically made from those fruits like a brandy is actually made. And that's where I was talking about, because I had heard of it's called Applejack. It comes out of New Jersey.
Applejack, yes.
Yep. And it's the old. It happens to be the oldest.
I am experienced.
The oldest distillery of brandy in America. I mean, everybody thinks Buffalo Trace is the oldest, and it's not. This is older, but this like a lot of other distilleries had to shut down during Prohibition, where Buffalo Trace was maybe not the oldest, but the oldest
continuously operating distillery.
Exactly, because they were actually, during Prohibition, they were able to label some of their whiskeys as medicinal purposes.
Yeah, for medicinal purposes only.
So they never had to shut down, and there you go. So they're different. But if you're ever having a brandy and you want to know why that's different from these other things we're talking about, it's because it's being made from fruit.
Another good thing to take advantage of is that a lot of these whiskeys and bourbons are what they call finished. In that is when they take the product and then they'll age it in, say, for example, sherry casks or rosé wine barrels.
Sure.
Even maple syrup barrels.
Flavored
and
barrels,
that would
right.
impart a different flavor profile to the whiskey and can give it a dimension all on its own. And some great ones out there. One in particular is a Widow Jane Decadence. It's out of Brooklyn, New York, is the distiller. And it is finished in in maple syrup barrels. And I'm telling you, you could literally pour this over your pancakes in the morning.
Really comes
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's weird. I was learning that about the different woods in the woods barrel, because you need to go in oak, but you don't have to stay in oak. Sometimes they just pour it over an oak barrel. They literally like pour the batch over an oak barrel into another barrel and age it there. But it touched wood. That's why if you ever hear double wood, it basically went through one barrel into another barrel. Okay. So they changed out the barrels.
Right.
Yep.
And there are different techniques where they char the barrels.
Yep.
And that would produce a different flavor profile just in that process.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Well, I brought back a little treasure here from. I was telling Vin I wandered into an Irish fair over in Connecticut, and
you didn't quite wander out.
I didn't quite wander out, but I did manage to somehow pick this up, and it's from Mine Hill Distilleries, and they had a table, and I don't know if you just want to take a look at that label and give your first impression.
And now this is a distiller in Connecticut.
In Connecticut,
so it's a local distiller.
Yep.
Mine Hill.
I didn't know what to make of it, but I said this is something that the bourbon savant might like to take a look at.
It's 41% alcohol. That means it's 82. 41% alcohol. That means it's 82 proof.
Yeah.
When you see something that's a proof statement, if it's 100 proof, it's 50% alcohol.
Got you.
Basically, that's the conversion. Sometimes you'll see a proof, sometimes you'll see a percent alcohol, but that explains.
There's a little map right here, I think. They got
crying out loud. Yeah. So 41% alcohol is an 82 proof, which is very, very low.
Yep.
A very low proof point.
And where's the bar on that? Like about 100, 101? Is that what you're saying? Like
as far as
like quality or worth drinking?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some great. It's not that cut in stone. There is some great lower proof bourbons out there, or even whiskeys out there.
Right.
What happens though is when it's a lower proof, it doesn't really develop that much. It could be thin and not much of a mouthfeel. The higher proof bourbons will get a little more viscosity, so it'll leave a little more of an oily mouthfeel, which is highly sought after by a lot
Right,
of.
don't get us lost. I don't
That's
know what the
another
hell
thing
the
you'll
is
hear.
talking about. Mouthfeel.
Yeah, when you hear somebody describing a whiskey or a bourbon and reviewing it, you'll hear mouthfeel quite a bit.
So it's what? How your mouth feels after you drink it?
Absolutely. Just think of it. I mean, if you had something in your that you're sipping on and enjoying it, and it's a little oily, a little viscous in the mouth.
Yeah.
Leaves
I
a little
know
residue.
myself. I'd rather be drinking something that has a little viscosity.
Then less viscosity.
So it has a good mouthfeel. So some of them,
my
some of the
wife-
higher proof bourbons.
My wife doesn't feel the same way. my wife would
I was
disagree. My
baiting
wife
that.
would
I was
disagree with
baiting
you.
that.
You were trying to yank it out of me. Weren't you? All right. Well, you got it. There you go. Cool. Well, I don't know what you should say. I'll get some glasses and we'll crack that thing open.
Absolutely.
All right. Good.
What are we waiting
I
for?
thought we were gonna drink it out of the bottle like men.
Yeah, we could do that. We just pass it around.
All right, folks. We got the glasses. We're able to pillage the house to get some glasses, and Tommy's got some more great. He was talking to me during the little timeout, and he was saying things I didn't understand. So I'm assuming you might not understand them. So he's going to explain them. Tommy, what are you doing? What's that
I just
called?
gave us 3 neck pours.
What the hell's a neck pour?
Neck pour is first out of the bottle.
Ooh.
And of course, when you think of the neck of the bottle, that's basically where it's coming from.
Uh-huh.
And whiskeys, bourbons like wines get better with air, with aeration. And after the bottle's been open for a while, even after it's been poured, you want to kind of swish it around a little bit. Just let it breathe, just like you would a good red wine.
So
The longer you do that, the more agitation you give it, the flavors will develop.
So even though it's recorked and sitting behind the bar,
Yep.
it's still getting some air and it's getting some kind of seasoning that goes
Absolutely.
into an open bottle compared to when we had the foil on there.
Right. The
Gotcha.
flavors will develop over time
Gotcha.
somewhat once the air is.
And what's it called when it's poured like this?
It's called a drink.
That's called neat, right? This is neat. We're drinking
Neat,
these.
no
This
ice.
is neat. Yeah.
Yeah, no ice
And,
in. This is neat. So
I cannot see drinking a bourbon or on ice. I
Right.
can't do it. I'll have it as a cocktail, good old fashioned. Nothing beats a good old fashioned.
Right.
Or the basic old highball.
yeah,
The quintessential old man's drink is a highball.
it's very
Nothing
obvious
better.
that folks who drink it with ice, they're doing it so they can palate the taste better than if it was not iced. And when you add that ice and you palate it better, you also water it down, right? You're melting the ice, you're watering it down, and there you go. So if you're gonna drink the bloody thing, you got to drink it neat.
Right.
I mean, I'm not saying you have to drink it. Yes, I am. You have to drink it, but it's got to be neat.
But-
Jägermeister. He had a bottle of Jägermeister in his freezer in his dorm room. That's not right. That's wrong. We all did it, but
I think
still
it's right.
okay. There we go. No names. We're protecting the innocent. Anyways, so we're having a one finger pour. Because look, everybody, it's one finger.
This is probably a 2 ounce pour. Not a little under 2 ounce. 1
Yeah,
ounce
because it's a
pour.
big glass, right?
I just like hearing you say things like 2 ounce pour, 1
ounce
finger.
Or one finger. You got
You just sound so knowledgeable.
one
and
finger
wise.
neat, and we're aerating
do.
it.
Well,
And
your
those
standard pour at any bar would be a 2 ounce pour. That's a standard.
Okay.
yeah. And what's that glass called that they use them in? That fluted one?
It's a Glencairn.
Glencairn, yeah. And that's there so you can kind of aerate it and
Exactly.
smell it.
Yep. And there's another technique when you get some of the high proofs, some of the barrel proofs, full proof, cask strength. Those are bourbons that are very high in proof alcohol content. You're talking 120, 130, even more in proof.
Yeah.
And in order to cut the heat a little bit and develop the flavors, you can take an eyedropper and just squeeze a couple drops of water in it.
Okay.
And that'll temper the heat, the alcohol in it, and at the same time develop the flavors more. And that's just like a feel process. I've never done that myself, but
Well, that was super interesting, and I know there's a lot of lingo and vocabulary that goes with it. Just drives people nuts, like Charlie said. You know, it just they don't understand. And like butchering and or barbecuing, it becomes a little bit intimidating. And if people don't know, they shy away, and they shouldn't. They should experiment because Let's face it, guys. We're almost dead. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. I hope you get feeling a little better. I hope your trip goes well.
Thank
Hope
you.
do a lot more of this. Sweet. It's awesome.
Yeah, I had our itinerary.
Yeah. Of what?
I think we're doing
for your thing.
We're doing 2 on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Our flight arrives in well, we're flying into Cincinnati. Then I got a brother picking us up, and we're going to drive to Louisville from Cincinnati.
How are you going to get from place to place? Because you can't be drinking and driving. Right?
Any of you out there that have epilepsy, don't watch this.
It's funny you ask because, well, the first couple of days we'll be driving ourselves, but
Oh,
the third day
no.
we booked a private custom tour,
Ooh.
and that's through Kentucky Bourbon Boys. Check them out. I
right.
looked them up online, and they've got quite a service that they provide where they will actually come pick you up wherever you're staying. It's an 8-hour day, so they will chauffeur you, and the driver will be your tour guide as well. They
Nice.
They have you pick 3 different regions. Pick one of 3 different regions, and each region you're allowed 3 distilleries to choose from,
Oh, that's
and that
great.
would put together your day. And there's also a lunch or brunch involved in that package.
Oh, that sounds like a hell of a
So,
package.
Yeah. So you just
What's
sit
something
back.
like that
They come
cost?
pick you up. For the 5 of us, it came to about $400 a piece.
Oh, not bad at all.
No,
Right,
they come
60
pick you
bucks.
up, and they're your tour guide, and you just sit back, and
And then they
they drop
dump,
you
they
off.
pour you out.
Yeah,
at the
they
Yeah,
end.
right.
They just dump you off. Here you go. Kick you to the sidewalk.
You're home. You're
You're
home.
on your own at this
Vin
point.
used to give me that package for free. I didn't even have to pay for it. Now you're home, Charlie.
You go home. Yep,
I don't know
street
what
Up
they'll
the
do.
hill,
You're
take a
home.
right, a left, another right.
You're home.
And then they, I don't know what they'll do if you're vomiting in the back seat
Yeah,
on the way
no,
home or something like
no.
that.
No,
Shades
but
of high school.
I don't know if I've ever been sick off bourbon because it's almost impossible. I think. I mean, unless
The
you
only
just
thing-
it's just revolting to you.
And it's
You got to
Because
hammer
you can't,
it
right? You can't drink enough to get sick. I don't think. Like I can drink enough vodka to get sick.
I've
I
been
drink
sick on scotch
really
in the past, yeah.
Southern Comfort. What-
Comfort.
Southern Comfort.
Yeah, that's
My
nasty.
God, to this day, I drank it when I was 16 years old, and I haven't touched it since. I mean,
Yeah,
if I smell that stuff, I mean, ugh.
yeah. That I remember. You have to drink down to the porch. Drink down to the. There's a pitcher on the side, and you challenge someone to say, "Okay, you get a bottle, I get a bottle." We drank, and how far down you get down the pitcher, and until you lost it.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, that's a bad game. Yeah,
That's a bad game.
That's a bad game. Oh, Southern Comfort. Yeah.
Ain't no comfort there. So, all right, awesome. Well, that was that was super interesting, and I know that your article did really well. It resonated well. Anything that provokes comments from our readers, tell us that they're reading it and they care about it. they want their comments heard. So that's great. So thank you, folks, and thank you for your comments. Keep sending them, and don't forget, the Wise Guys. I'm sorry, Made Guy or Whacked competition. We circle it around barbecue, but it doesn't have to be a barbecue cook, right? It could be one of these experiences that we're talking about, a barbecue and bourbon pairing that you went on, and how you liked it, how you didn't like it. It could be anything that would make sense on this show, good or bad, so we can ridicule you and get you some wonderful gifts. Actually, Charlie, you brought something today, didn't you?
No, yeah. I just want to give a
Which one is it? No or yes?
wow. I threw that one right. Charlie you brought some. Oh,
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is how you guys know this show is just like
Yeah. It's live.
live.
And it's going to be coming live too. So
It's gonna
stay
be
tuned.
coming live, so all this stuff we won't get to edit it out.
There you go.
Yeah, just a shout out to Baldwin Arts. Baldwin Arts. He does a lot of what he calls urban expressionism. I don't know what that means in terms of art, but he does a lot of stuff. Baldwin Arts 401 is the website. You can find it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. And he's got a ton of stuff for sale. He's had a couple shows in Providence. But I gave me this one a long time ago when he was just starting out. I asked him for something with The Godfather.
Pull it back into the frame. Yep. There you go.
Can we see it?
Yep. There we go.
There we go.
Nice.
And it's just sort of like a collage from the Godfather movies, and he threw in a few other things, but
Well, it was super nice of him.
yeah,
You know,
and he thought it would fit our show and what we do, and I concur.
It absolutely does, and these are the kind of things you can request as a gift if we read your letter online, and heck, we'll even degrade it some more
right in front of your face,
and we can degrade it a little bit more and sign it for you too. So there you go.
There we go. Okay,
Baldwin, isn't that your name?
it is. It is.
a coincidence.
Strangely enough, it is
What
my
a
name.
coincidence.
Is there a relation to Baldwinots?
Not that I want to admit to, but yes.
That's
Yeah, love you, Zach.
nice. Yeah. So, yeah, that's cool. We love Zach. Does some amazing work. We got. I got some ideas I'd like to bounce off him a little bit because I'm sure he would grab him and run with them. So, hey,
We're gonna get that done one of these days.
no, that's exciting. No, it's
He's hard to pin down, guys.
It's part of the evolution, baby, and I love that it's taking time because if we did all this shit in 6 months, it wouldn't be worth it. You know what I mean?
Correct.
I know they took a little bit. I mean, maybe there was about 8 months into this bourbon, but but it does take time. Can I get some more? I like.
Yeah. See, you guys are liking it.
There you go. So this is not a neck pour because it's a second.
Well, no, now it's like a shoulder pour, I guess.
Ooh, nipple
We're
pour.
moving on down.
Yeah, let me know when we get to the vagina.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can we say
Hence
vagina?
the dangers of a live show.
We're getting there.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with the word vajayjay. I'm sorry, it's fine. Anyways,
For Gigi.
Lord in heaven help me.
Jojo?
I'm supposed to be the guy. He says he's off the cuff thing.
it's sad
No.
when you're bringing us back.
Yeah. I got to bring it back around. We're in trouble.
Baldwin's the wet blanket. You figure it out.
What a rag.
All right.
Well, I just want to make one comment.
Yes.
See, this is right up my alley because this is not. It's not overpowering.
It's low proof,
so it's a very mild.
It's user friendly.
User friendly.
Yep.
I could drink a lot of this.
It's a good beginner bourbon for somebody who's
Yeah,
just
you just
getting
got to
into
throw
it.
that in there, right?
Yep.
Yeah, beginner bourbon.
Yeah.
I can
wuss
see little
bags
trainer
like you.
wheels
The
on.
training wheel bourbon. Basil Hayden is another variety that's very good,
Basil.
low proof, and a good one for
I've
somebody
heard of
who's
that.
getting into it.
Yeah.
So would that be a daily,
Well, it's a very low proof
but expensive?
bourbon, and it is actually it is kind of overpriced, but
Yeah.
it's a good option for somebody who's looking to get into it, and you need to start off. You don't want to start off on on a rocket ship stuff. You want to start off something low and low proof, and
So
then
let's
you
make
work
it-
your way up to some of the.
Sure. There's no
You don't want to be discouraged right off to the bat, and
There's
say
no
that.
sense in a slob like me drinking $100 bottles of
or
bourbon.
100,
I don't
130
appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know enough to appreciate
Don't sell yourself short.
it. I'm a tremendous slouch. Anyway, 3 shots in. Anyway, so Tommy, off the top of your head, how much would you say that cost?
This bottle.
Yeah.
You paid for it?
Yeah. I mean, 40,
You're ruining the punchline.
40, 45.
Yeah, I paid 40 for it. Wow.
I was close.
$40 on the
Close.
dot. Yeah. Yep.
Reminds me of a little story. The husband and wife, they're elderly, right? And they're cashing out. They're going into the retirement age, and the husband comes out from the safe, and he's got $3,400, and he's got 3 eggs, and he brings it to the wife, and he says, "Here you go. Here's my donation to our retirement account." And the wife's like, "Oh, geez, quite a bit of money and 3 eggs. What are the eggs for?" He goes, "Well, every time I was unfaithful to you with another woman, I took an egg out of the fridge and I put it in the safe." So she stopped for a minute and she's like, "Oh God, we've been married for 40-something years." He said, 3 eggs, it's not too bad. She said, "What's the 3,400 for?" He said, "Well, every time I got a dozen eggs, I sold them for $3."
Bada bing.
And you just like when I say eggs.
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 A-I-G-S.
My mother says eggs.
Also legs.
Eggs.
L-A-I-G-S. Legs.
So there you go.
Wow.
So if you get those
We're giving a pretty good recommendation for for Miners Mine Hill whiskey or whatever the hell that
from the
is.
mines.
But that's a whiskey.
Yeah, that's
Is that a whiskey? That's a whiskey.
I don't even know.
Was it,
Well, Jesus, what do we bring you here for, Tom?
Bourbon whiskey. It says
it's a
bourbon.
bourbon. It's bourbon.
What does bourbon whiskey
so it's
means?
made, it's 51%.
51% corn at least.
And it's made in the mines.
How can it be a bourbon and a whiskey?
It's
Well,
a bourbon whiskey.
all bourbon
There
is
are all
whiskey.
different kinds of whiskeys, but bourbon is a specific
Right.
whiskey that has a minimum of
we
51%.
just went through this.
No, I understand that, but I feel it would be either a bourbon.
Backtracking a little bit.
Or is it?
If,
No.
if 51% and up is bourbon and underneath is a whiskey.
Well,
So how can it be a
51% corn?
okay?
It has to have 51%.
51% corn
And maybe
mash or whatever
mash bill.
mash bill. That is a bourbon.
Bourbon, correct.
Underneath that is a whiskey.
Right, it would be a whiskey.
So how can it
And
be a
anything other
bourbon
than-
whiskey?
Well, it's not a bourbon vodka.
Okay, that's. I've exposed myself and my lack of knowledge on what I drink. And just give me anything, bartender.
Yep. All right, folks. Welcome. Welcome back. We're gonna round off our episode today. Really happy to have Tommy here enlightening us about the bourbon. Loved his article. Please go check that out. Please hit like and sponsor on this show. It helps us out tremendously. It just makes us happy, kind of like this bourbon.
Very happy.
But for sure,
Only going to get happier.
Yep. So we got some sponsors we have to thank. I have one. Charlie has one. I have Spidell, as always, doing a great job. Actually, there's some really good news with Spidell. Spidell is increasing their manufacturing base in Rhode Island. They actually brought a Pennsylvania manufacturing and distributor company to Rhode Island, to the Providence area. They were just moving them in. I'm actually going there Wednesday to see some of what they did in their distribution center. So God bless them for Rhode Island. I know they're doing really well with that, growing. Oh my God, just amazingly those watches and watch bands. If you're looking to upgrade your wrist game, look no further than Spidell. Combining over a century of craftsmanship with modern style, Spidell watch bands are the perfect blend of durability, comfort, and elegance for any occasion. Don't just wear a watch, wear a Spidell. Thank you, Spidell, for everything you do for us, and good luck with your new venture. I'm sure you're going to kill it. Everything you guys touch turned to gold, both literally and figuratively. So good luck with that.
Well said.
Awesome. I'm just going to revisit another of our sponsors, the Fight Factory in West Warwick, Rhode Island, on 3 Bridle Avenue. They have a huge event coming up in November. It's the New England Silver Gloves Boxing Championships, and this is for boxers aged 8 to 17. And the top winners advance to the New England the regionals. I guess it's Eastern Regionals. Yeah, Eastern Regionals tournament in January, and they'll be going up against Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. So this is a huge event for Fight Factory. It's a USA Boxing sanctioned event, which means it's legit. And if you want tickets to this, it's November. Where is this? November 16th is a Saturday, and they finish up on Sunday, November 17th. And it's at the Fight Factory on 3 Bridle Avenue in West Warwick, Rhode Island. You can check them out on their website, on Facebook, and you can get tickets and information on that website, Fight Factory.
I'm sorry, Charlie. Can you repeat the date again? I didn't listen. November
Sure.
what?
Saturday, November 16th, and
Okay.
Sunday, November 17th at
All
the
right.
Fight Factory.
So I'm going to spice it up a little bit. I'm going to tell you that the first 12 people that go in those gates and mention Wise Guys Barbecue, we're going to get a free Wise Guy Barbecue T-shirt. So those are first edition. They're limited quantities. This is going to be a collector's item for Wise Guys Barbecue, and they will be done by November 17th. So,
Yep.
so we'll have them
16th.
there. Yep, 16th. So all you got to do is show up.
Cool.
And while you go through the gate, just say, "Hey, Wise Guys Barbecue sent me here," and you'll get yourself a free T-shirt.
Can
So
I do
please-
that? Will it
No,
work?
I don't know. I don't know.
Technically, you're going to get one for free.
And, yeah, can't be family members of the show
Yeah, yeah,
participants either. But
Gosh.
it's a hell of a question, though, Tommy. But other than that restriction, there is no restriction. So please show up and throw that verbal coupon out there, and you're good. First 12, don't be late. Thanks, folks.
Can I
for
tell you a
joining-
joke before you go off? I got a joke.
Sure. All right.
And then you can
But-
say goodbye.
All right. Let's
I got
do
a
that.
joke. Because he told a joke, I want to tell a joke.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So, this polar bear walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Hey, what can I get you?" And the polar bear goes, "Yeah, I'll take a rum and Coke." And the bartender says, "Okay, no problem, but what's with the paws?" And he says, "I don't know. I was born with them."
All right. So let me know when you tell the joke because I'm going to wrap up again. Thanks, Charlie, for that joke. And thank you, folks, for joining us for another week of Wise Guys Podcast, whoever the hell we are. Please show up at the Factory Fight
Factory.
Fight Factory.
3
Get-
Bridal Avenue,
many
West
Fs.
Warwick.
Get those T-shirts. They're going to be a hot tamales. And next week, we're going to come back next week. Charlie and I, we've been doing our research. We've been studying hard for our next safari. I don't like talking a lot about it because I don't like baiting people too much. But we got an idea of what we want to do, so we're going to drop some hints and ask you some questions.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, we came off the last one. In South Carolina, we asked our folks to say, "Hey, give us some ideas for the next one," and they did. They came up with some good ones.
it.
So I think what they're missing though is a general direction. Like if we tell them what state we're going to or something, they can give us some better.
Oh, and then we'll have
content.
people following us.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll be crazy. You can't do that.
We'll get that bourbon driver from Tommy's Strip to come down and take us around. But yeah, so please like and subscribe. Leave us a review. Love to hear from everybody. And adios. Thanks for being here.